E-bikes are here. They're making commuting a lot easier and we're loving them on the trails. But have you ever thought about a drop-barred e-bike for roadies? Well, Giant have. It's called the Road E Plus, and we've taken it for a ride along with a normal bicycle to find out if the two can ever get along. This is Rob Moxon, art editor of Cycling Plus, and he's a cyclist?
Kind of.
Kind of. And he seems like a natural candidate for somebody to ride an e-bike alongside a normal bike to see if maybe the electric motor can narrow the gap between a less experienced rider and a more experienced rider.
Yeah.
I feel like that's unnecessarily mean.
Yes, I'm an occasional cyclist. I don't get out anywhere near as much as Matthew does on the bike, so I felt like I need some sort of mechanical assistance to keep up with him. We created a route in sort of mid-Wales around the Elan Valley. Essentially it offered a lot of variety in the terrain, so we got long, relatively sustained climbs, a lot of rolling terrain and flats.
So with Rob on the Road E, I was riding a Giant TCR Advanced Pro Disc, which is a very nice high-end bike with Di2 discs, tubeless tyres, carbon wheels, everything worth about the same amount of money as the Road E, but obviously very much lighter and with a rather different purpose in mind. We were riding around Linbrian Reservoir, which is really epic scenery, and it starts off going across this huge dam that holds back the water, which looks like something out of a Bond film. It's really cool. So we set off across the dam, nice smooth tarmac, and then we're straight onto a forestry trail essentially. How did you find that on the e-bike, Rob?
Instantly, I mean, the wider tyres, it felt really comfortable, and I think it's quite a heavy bike. It felt very stable on the uneven terrain.
I've noticed this with other people, is that you put them on an e-bike and it brings out their inner smugness. And this was immediately evident with you, I think.
Yeah, it certainly did that. And
yeah, because we went across the dam, which is pretty much level, and then we went up a hill and you were gone.
yes.
And that kind of set the tone for, I think, the whole ride.
Having seen many people disappear in the distance, it was nice to be that person going off.
So in the lowest power mode, did you feel like you were doing any work or like a bit?
Yeah, you certainly could feel that you were turning the pedals, but it's almost like you're riding slower but going much faster. The assistance is definitely there, and
yeah,
it took a while to realise how much the Giant was adding.
Yeah. On the TCR, I was rattling through the forest. I mean, it's a really racy bike, and I was on 25mm tyres, and I was like, this is a bit silly on a race bike, essentially riding through a forest. How did you find the Road E?
Yeah, I think it was great in that context. I mean, the wider tyres, the heavy frame, you felt stable constantly.
Were you conscious of that extra weight ever making it harder, or did it just not matter?
There are points where you'd really notice the weight actually, so it'd be after a descent and you'd hit the climb and your speed would be greater than the 15.5 miles per hour limit on the bike, and you'd go to pedal and suddenly you'd be trying to lumber this really heavy frame up a climb.
Yeah.
And I suppose because the assistance has been there up to that point, it's such a contrast when that weight hits you, and you sort of almost fold. I almost folded over the bars the first time.
So I think we've established that you like going uphill on the Road E, but how is it downhill?
On the straights, it was great. It's when it comes to stopping actually that it feels a bit sketchy. You're oddly aware of the extra weight, and you know rough braking distances and when you start knocking the speed off. And I think it took a while to adjust to the additional weight and the confidence, and I certainly wasn't as confident through corners. I think where I did struggle to maybe stay with you on the e-bike was on the flats when your average speed was higher than the limiter because
Yeah, because
then
at that point
you're
you were
on
just
your own with this 20
quite heavy
kilogram
bike, yeah.
yeah.
So if we'd been doing a ride that was more or less flat, like completely flat, my natural speed that I'd have wanted to ride at as a fit roadie would have been, let's say, internet, come at me, 20 miles an hour. And you wouldn't have been able to keep up then, would you?
Definitely
Because
not.
of the limiter.
Yeah, definitely not. Would you buy one?
I really like the bike in some ways. I think it's really cool how it opens up terrain that you wouldn't necessarily consider otherwise. So for me personally, because I can get up most hills under my own steam, I maybe wouldn't. On the other hand, there is that practical application like I talked about. And also I do think narrowing the gap with a more experienced rider, it has huge potential. So I think for a lot of couples where there's one person who's quite a bit stronger than the other, it means they can ride together. I think we proved that to some extent. I do think it's always going to be a bit of a niche because of the limiter, so unless they change the speed at which that is limited, but that is a legal thing, so that's kind of difficult. So there you have it. E-road bikes are tremendously capable, and in the right circumstances, they're absolutely brilliant. However, there are very few of them on the market. They're still very, very expensive, and really, until or if that speed limiter gets raised, they're always going to be a bit of a niche. But both of us, having actually tried it, really liked it and can see the potential there. So I guess my conclusion from the whole experience would be, give it a go.